Most people think about the Council of Nicaea as the ecumenical council of the church in 325 that was gathered by Constantine, the first Christian emperor, to decide on the nature of Jesus, if he was deity or full-blown deity, in a conflict that could have divided the empire. And you had Alexander, who was the bishop of Alexandria at the time, and Arius, also a thinker from Alexandria. Could anything good come from Alexandria? Most people associate the Council of Nicaea with the doctrine of the Trinity. And that's true. The doctrine of the Trinity, or the doctrine of the hypostatic union, is hammered out as orthodoxy at Nicaea, and Alexander's view, Athanasius' view. Athanasius is a very important church father who is later on becomes the bishop of Alexandria. They win and Arius loses, okay? But there's actually a second element to that council that most people are not familiar with, and that is the times. Namely, do we follow the Jewish calendar? That was such a big issue. I talk about this in volume 1 of Let's Get Biblical, because until that period, till that time, until the 4th century, many Christians celebrate Easter based on the Jewish Passover. And the Jewish calendar is based on the oral Torah. I'm not going to go into the complexities of it, but the Jewish calendar requires a knowledge of a computation of when Passover should occur. You might go, what do you need an oral law for that? Because Passover has to not only begin on the 15th day of the first month, but also has to come out during the springtime. Why? The Torah says so. Where? Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. So it requires a complex understanding of oral Torah. But as you can imagine, while many early Christians went to the Jews to find out when Passover is, so they know when to celebrate Easter, like Polycarp did that, Christians began to resent the idea that we're relying on the Jewish times, on the Jewish calendar. That means the Jews would decide when Christians celebrate Easter. And this became, wow, a schism that could have divided the church in half. Constantine did not want his empire divided. He wanted unified around a unified empire, namely a unified religion, one doctrine on the nature of Jesus and the calendar. And it is the Council of Nicaea that it was established that the Jewish calendar will no longer be used, the Jewish times will no longer be used to determine the Christian festivals. And at the Council of Nicaea, the notion that Easter should be celebrated on Pesach would be rejected. By the way, in some languages, Easter is called Pascha for that reason. So the church rejected the Jewish calendar at Nicaea formally. Of course, this was an argument that had been going on for centuries, but formally it was rejected. That means that's when the church came to reject the oral Torah. When you hear all these Christian missionaries saying, we don't believe in the oral Torah, that's where it comes from. It's the Council of Nicaea. That's where it's so interesting. They say they don't accept the oral Torah unless it helps them. And how do you know these 27 books of the Christian Bible are those 27 books? Because of the Catholic Church. The Protestants rely on the Catholic Church for all this stuff. Athanasius, the person who argued for the Orthodox version of the Trinity, was the person who in 367 declared which books of the New Testament are canon and which are not. And he's the first person to state as these 27. And all you Protestants who follow Athanasius, you're following a Roman Catholic, Orthodox Roman Catholic Church father, a very Orthodox Roman Catholic Church father. So just know that. That's what Daniel has in mind. Daniel wants us to, or Daniel is receiving this information from an angel who's revealing all the four kingdoms that would precede the coming of Mashiach. And the fourth of the four kingdoms is just the worst of all. That's Rome. And Rome is a kingdom that morphs, that changes. After all, Rome, when it destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, was not a Christian empire, but it sure became one, and it kept developing and changing and altering. And even when the western part of the Roman Empire was destroyed in the 5th century, the eastern part of the empire, the Byzantine Empire, continued for another 1,000 years, develop and split again in 1054. But its nature is to reject the calendar, the times of the Jewish people, and the mitzvot of the Jewish people. It's not an accident that in Colossians 2, verse 16 and 17, Paul says that let no one tell you, and notice what he says there. He says, let nobody tell you about the food you eat and drink, those are commandments, right? And the new moons and the festivities. So Paul is saying in Colossians 2, he is condemning people who think that you're supposed to keep mitzvot, ritual laws. It means what you eat, the mitzvot, and the times, that's the new moon. Let no one tell you about that. And in case you think that there's some other reason Paul had in mind here, you're wrong. He says in verse 17 that the reason for this is that the Lord never had any value, never had any intrinsic value. It was always just a shadow, and the essence is Christ. He says that. He doesn't say because you're B'nai Noach, you're Noachide. No, it never had intrinsic value. So it's not like the Catholic Church grabs out of nowhere. The idea that you would have a religion that would emerge, that was that fourth kingdom. Our sages tell us like the pig, that has split hooves but doesn't chew its cud. Outwardly looks kosher, but open it up, it doesn't have the four stomachs that you would find in a ruminant animal like a cow or a deer. And Hashem makes it that, Hashem made there are hundreds of different breeds of pigs, It's quite a number of species of pigs, many different kinds. And they all have split hooves, and none of them chew their cud. And this is emblematic of everything that's unkosher. It's emblematic of the fourth kingdom. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the pig in such a way that it uniquely has split hooves, and it displays its split hooves very prominently, but it doesn't chew its cud. It's treif inside. That's why the pig represents everything that's unholy. And it's interesting, Hashem made the pig that it is, although it is genetically very close to a human, you might think this is the real thing. In fact, you could, doctors can use parts of the pig as vessels for humans. But Hashem made a pig that it cannot look at the heavens. The neck of a pig, no matter what breed or whatever it is, it can't look up. It can't look at the sky. It can't look at the heavens because you're a pig. You're a filthy, dirty pig. So even though everyone looks at you and thinks, oh, look at your split hooves. Oh, look at your genetic makeup. It's so close to a human. We can practice surgery on parts of the pig, on organs of the pig, in order to perform surgery on humans, which can. Hashem made that no pig could move its head up to look at the heavens. Your dog could look any way he wants. Your cat could look up anywhere. No pig can. No pig can look at the heavens. A donkey can look up. Every animal, all these animals, they can all, a pig, Hashem made a pig only down. You're a filthy pig. You only look down at the ground because that's where you are. You're only earth. the clay, but there's no Hashem in you. There's no spirituality in you. There's nothing godly in you. You portray yourself as godly. You portray yourself as heir to the Torah, but you're not. And that's that fourth nasty kingdom that, unlike other kingdoms, portrays itself as though it's holy, but you're really not. Displays its splitos. It shows that it has mafreses parsa, but it's not mali gera. Coming to a time with the pig, which is the chazer in Hebrews, is going to bring about the restoration. That's what chazor means, to return, that all the nation will return and we'll be finished with that pig, and then we will greet the true Mashiach, b'mheira b'yameinu, quickly in our time. If you enjoy these programs, please like and subscribe.
Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra עת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא